From the simple hoverquad to the long-awaited explorer, the Drake Corsair, 2022 was packed with new additions to the roster of vehicles and ships currently usable in Star Citizen. That being said, not all that glitters is gold, so how do all the ships in 2022 stack up, and which ones really stood out? Hello folks, Space Tech here, and welcome to a different style of video. In this one, I'm going to be taking a look at all the new ships that we got last year and giving them a rating from 1 to 10, purely based on how much I enjoy them. Now I know that my ratings will look different than yours, so please let me know what was your favorite and least favorite new addition to the verse in the comments below. Starting off with the Hull A. This little cargo runner serves as our introduction to the Hull series of ships from MISC. At its capacity of 64 SCU of cargo, it definitely made a splash by carrying more cargo than all ships its size, and even some ships that are larger like the Cutlass Black, the Freelancer, and the 600i. This ship was one of the first this year that showed us how much CIG has grown in terms of being able to polish its ships. The interior of the Hull A does a great job of utilizing space to make the Hull A both functional and quite comfortable to spend some time in. If you know that all you want to do is cargo, the Hull A is an amazing ship to start out in the verse with, and for all of these reasons, I'm going to go with a 7 out of 10. Actually, with that extendable midsection, it's gotta be an 8. Next up, the Hoverquad by Consolidated Outlands. This is the third hoverbike added to the game, and while it is officially labeled as a personal transport vehicle, it's actually got twice the acceleration of the Nox and the highest SEM speed. It also ties the Nox when it comes to top speed. The Hoverquad also gains a bit of internal storage space in place of the second seat of a Dragonfly. Overall, I think the Hoverquad is super fun to fly around, it's got great design, and is a welcome addition to the roster. That being said, as long as bunker turrets continue to shoot at hover vehicles, their utility will always be limited. So final score, 7 out of 10. Speaking of limited utility, CIG also released the Drake MULE this year. While it is a super fun vehicle to run about in and it has an effective 0-meter turn radius, its only real utility is that it carries a few 1/8 SEU boxes for delivery missions. Something that will always be slower than just using a tractor beam in the first place. I hope the MULE will grow into its utility as manual loading and unloading of cargo gets implemented. Until then, this vehicle is a 3 out of 10 at max, and 2 of those points are just because it's cute. From a next to useless vehicle to one that strikes fear into the hearts of many a Gladius or A2 bomb hovering over Jumptown, the Anvil Centurion is the result of ripping a hammerhead turret off that ship and slapping it onto the back of the Atlas platform. The undisputed king of swatting ships out of the air from the ground has always been the ballista, but it suffers from having very limited ammunition before needing to go reload somewhere. Unfortunately, the only way to get a ballista to and from these rearming locations would be through very large ships like the C2. Thankfully, the default loadout of the Centurion comes outfitted with laser repeaters, giving it a near endless ability to terrorize the skies from the ground. This makes the Centurion a great companion to any ground operation, especially when deployed in a pair with a ballista to support it. The Centurion gets a 7 out of 10, but is sure to go up once we have more opportunities to deploy ground vehicles. If I was rating these vehicles purely based on fun, the STV from Greycat is definitely a 10. This little buggy takes everything that's great about the fan-favorite PTV and ramps it up to 11. Better overall stats when it comes to performance, along with the ability to hold some cargo and a couple of weapons, makes the Steve a great runabout for doing some bunker missions. That, combined with the fun it brings to racing, makes this a 9 out of 10, only losing a point because of the lack of utility of ground vehicles as a whole. Screaming into the trench run is the Scorpius. As RSI's response to the Anvil Hurricane, the Scorpius is designed to move some of the extra firepower from the turret operator into the hands of the pilot. This ends up changing the way that the Scorpius pilot can fly, choosing to fly more selfishly and not solely for the firing angles of the turret. The Scorpius also has a neat party trick allowing the turret to change positions so as to be facing backwards and opening up angles towards the ground. Overall, I think this ship is a great option for those who want a fighter that they could fly solo to a decent effect, but truly becomes lethal with a buddy. With cool factor playing a huge role, I think this ship was an absolute 10 out of 10. The Corsair from Drake is the ship that so many people have been waiting so long to fly. Its asymmetric design, coupled with amazing polish and attention to detail inside the ship, means that this ship is sure to wow anyone who gets a chance to see and explore it. In addition to the polish, the Corsair brings to bear the highest pilot-controlled DPS in the game. With an absurd amount of size 4 and 5 weapons, the Corsair absolutely deletes enemy ships. With the changes coming to 318, ballistic weapons are going to pack a humongous punch, and if this ship ever catches you in its sights, it'll turn you into a fireball before you know it. Of course, to balance this firepower, CIG did have to severely hamper its maneuverability, somehow making it even worse than the Constellation in this regard. I think with soft death being implemented in 318, this ship is definitely going to be playing pirate for more than a few C2s, and I can't wait to see how it grows into this role. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Drake also brought out its starter ship this year, the Cutter. The Space RV/Magic School Bus isn't the most elegant looking or aerodynamic ship, but it brings with it all of the polish demonstrated in the Corsair, just in the form of a starter ship. The Cutter also has fantastic hull HP, and enough space to carry the STV. In fact, it can even carry the ROC mining vehicle as long as the rear door isn't closed. As of 3.17, the Cutter has a generous fuel capacity, which means fewer fuel stops to bog down a new player out enjoying the verse. Overall, I think the Cutter is an awesome ship, especially for new players trying to get their feet wet. It is sturdy enough that they can run away from a threat, and versatile enough that they can try out almost every game loop that Star Citizen has to offer. I think this was a 10 out of 10 addition to the game. Last, but absolutely not least, is the C8R. My latest in-depth review covered this ship, and I ended it by saying that the C8R is sure to replace all other variations of the Pisces in fleets around the verse. This nimble little ship brings with it the ability to heal all Tier 3 injuries, while also having a cabinet that spawns with an assortment of med pens and sustenance. In my opinion, these factors, combined with its ability to hold a 1 SCU cargo box, make the C8R the premier bunker runner of Star Citizen. This ship is an obvious 10 out of 10 and my favorite addition of the year. That's every ship that was released in Star Citizen this year, and how I think that they stack up. What was your favorite and least favorite addition to the roster? Please like and or subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Take care, and see you in the next one.